Welcome to Coffee Talk with Design Research Collective. I'm Sara Frailich, CEO and co-founder of Design Research Collective. Really excited about today's episode. We got a chance to sit down with Meagan Jamieson. She's the Consumer Insights Manager at Polaris, a super cool power sports company. We got the chance to talk about automobile industry, power sports, a little bit about her world in finance, how she thinks of quantitative and qualitative, and really how our industry is evolving, especially as it relates to vehicles, automobiles, and power sports. Can't wait for you to hear this episode with Meagan, and you enjoy it. Welcome to Design Research Collective Coffee Talk. I'm so excited about today. This has been months of planning to have my friend and colleague, Meagan Jamieson, here with us. And hopefully it's working live. Those of you on the podcast or YouTube, we're glad you're here. Meagan is a superstar, and she's really different from the rest of our guests who might have been working in food or healthcare. Meagan has been working on insights and innovation in the vehicle and automotive industry, and we get to hear a lot about how our world collides with the world of vehicles and automotive. Yeah. She's the Consumer Insights Manager at Polaris, the global leader in power sports. She held various consumer insights roles over the past 5 years, informing strategies through the voice of the customer. Meagan has her master's in market research, which is really exciting, from Michigan State University, and has really spent most of her time in automotive, quick stint in financial services, but is really becoming an expert in automotive, power sports, and insights and innovation. We've been in the field together, so I know that Meagan is an expert at understanding deep needs, customer needs, having empathy, liking to go in the field and find out what's really happening with customers and owners. And I can't wait to hear what she has to say today about her journey and about power sports and its relationship to human-centered design, design research, insights and innovation, whatever you call our field, because I know there's a lot of names out there. Yeah. So I'm happy she's here. Meagan, let's start off with the first question we always ask people, which is a Jekyll and Hyde of your day job and your night job. So what is your title during the day? And then what might be your title at night when you're done working? This question. Yeah.
Okay, so title during the day, as you mentioned. So I'm the Consumer Insights Manager at Polaris. So my day-to-day focuses on our off-road vehicle division. So I am bringing the voice of the consumer into every meeting I'm in with our product and our marketing teams, and really driving that all forward. So that takes up my time during the day, and then when I come home, I'm a new puppy mom. Puppy named Waylon. He takes up a lot of time and energy as well. And then also consider myself a wedding planner. I'm planning a wedding. Just got engaged in this last summer. So those are two new things to me that are taking up all the time after 5 o'clock.
Awesome. So power sports and insights. Yeah. It seems like a kind of rare combination. Tell me a little bit, if you will, about how insights work in a power sports world.
Well, power sports is really fun at the end of the day, and we have customers who their main goal is to get out there and have fun, and we have other customers who they have a job to get done at the end of the day. And just understanding those different wants and motivations and then ultimately their needs is really interesting. But there's during my career, I've been at Jeep, I've been at General Motors, I worked on the product research team at General Motors, and there are a lot of similarities, right, when it comes to that vehicle has a goal that you need it to achieve, and I just enjoy finding that deeper meaning of what we need it to achieve for them.
Awesome. You're super good at it. How do, what are your favorite techniques for putting people at the center of design and decision making? Or if you think of human-centered design or design research, what are some of your techniques or things that you keep in mind about that?
Yeah, so one of the things I actually learned from you guys, from working with you, and I have this poster hanging in my office, is the concept of the iceberg, right? So at the very top of the iceberg, it's all about what people say. So people are going to tell you things, and then as you get a little bit deeper, you start to figure out what they do, right, by observing them. But really beneath the surface and where the magic really happens is when you start to understand how they feel. And I think we talked about this example as like somebody could tell you, just talking through a survey, my house is full of healthy foods. I only feed my children the most healthy food. And then as you look at what they actually do and you look inside their pantry, you're like, but wait, you have the family size box of Fruit Loops in here. Like,
Yeah.
not necessarily the healthiest
Yeah.
breakfast for your kid. But as you get to like, why do they do that? How does it make them feel? Like, why truly is that box of Fruit Loops in there? You come to learn that maybe they grew up eating Fruit Loops for breakfast. And so on Saturday morning, father and son sit at the kitchen table, they eat their Fruit Loops together, and it's this feeling of nostalgia where they're talking about what they're going to do this weekend, eating their Fruit Loops, and it becomes a memory and something that they're passing down to their kids, which is really that feeling where if you just talk to them like, hey, what do you feed your kid? And it's like, oh, all healthy things like bananas, oatmeal. You would never get to that deeper meaning of what breakfast means in a family. So outside of kind of automotive or power sports, but that's always an example that stuck with me.
I love that. Do you do both quantitative and qualitative research? With a degree in market research, I'm assuming you're good at both.
Yeah, so it's funny because my career really started heavily in the quant. And so in school we were doing a lot of SPSS analysis, learning
I know what none of those words mean.
So using one of the tools, SPSS, to analyze different data sets of kind of making the crosstabs and all of that stuff. And
I believe you.
Yeah, okay. And then we had like max diff and conjoint and all this stuff. But then once you got, and we had one class
I only vaguely know what those words mean.
We had one class on qualitative research, which I remember like a moderator came in and talked about it. So I kind of was like, okay, quant is research. And then as I started to get more real world experience, especially at GM, our team was really heavily focused on start with the quant and we follow up with qual to really understand what the data meant. And now I think at kind of this point in my career, I found in working with you guys, I found such a love for qual and really understanding. Like my favorite part is finally getting to like how people feel and understanding how people feel. And you just can't do that with data and numbers. So I have a interest in both of them. I think they're both great. They work really well together as well to help you explain why data sets are turning out the way they do. But my favorite part is definitely the qual.
Yeah, I've been in the field with Meagan, like in chicken coops and various terrains. So I know you like qualitative because I've seen you doing it. I've done it with you.
There's nothing like being in a chicken coop for work.
Yes, exactly, where you find yourself. One of the questions we have for people that do this type of work is, what are some of your examples of really good human-centered design or really good problem solving where a company has made a product or a solution where you're like, they did that right. They really did their research.
Yeah. So that's a good question. I guess coming from automotive, one that always sits in my head is Henry Ford has this quote that if I asked people what they actually wanted, they would have said a faster horse. And I think at first I almost took offense to that as like a researcher. I was like, no, like I wanted to go and defend it. But then as I started to learn more about human-centered design, all the different terms,
words, there's
all
so
the
many
words
words
for it, I realized like how true that is. And it's our job as researchers to be able to observe and find those unmet needs and frustrations to then help our product teams come up with solutions that customers don't even know they have. So that was a very like aha moment that made me love my job even more. And I think some different companies who have done a good job, obviously Henry Ford building a car that we now use every day. But like Apple, right? Nobody asked for a mini computer that could do absolutely everything, and you could never have to not look at, you would have one thing to look at being your iPhone, right? Nobody went to Steve Jobs and was like, this is what I think you should do, right? They had to observe people's lifestyles and realize like people are printing things off of MapQuest or getting the little navigations to put in their car. People are going on their laptops for Facebook. Like, what if we could all have it all in one-stop shop and whatever? So that's really interesting. I think another one that I actually heard somebody talking about the other day was Venmo. And so Venmo being, I was reading this article about how it happened where the two founders of Venmo, they were on a vacation together and one of them lost their wallet.
No way.
And so then the other guy's like, okay, I got you for the rest of the trip. And to pay the other guy back, he's like, okay, should I write you a check? Could you give you cash? And they're like, in the digital age, there has to be a better way to do this. And then came Venmo and using kind of that human-centered design all the way through. And that's what I love about it, right? Nobody had necessarily asked for it. It came out of a frustration or unmet need.
Yeah, I would like even 5 years ago we didn't have it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what we were doing. That's a really good point.
Another one that actually came to mind is I think I was talking to one of my siblings or who I may have been talking about, and they asked me, they're like, how did you get places like in college before Uber? And I was like, you called a taxi. And they're like, how'd you know who to call? And I'm like, well, I had a taxi guy. Like, I had his number, and when I needed
had
him,
a guy.
yeah, I called his number, and he'd be like, I'd be there in 45 minutes. Or you would go to, like, the restaurant or wherever you're at and be like, hey, do you have a book of local taxis? And they were like, oh, my gosh, I can't believe you had to go through that. And so it's funny to think about how those things have become such a norm, but they really, like, resulted from a frustration. But at the time, would anybody have said calling a taxi was like the most frustrating part of their day? Maybe not, but somebody observed that, right?
Absolutely.
So that
my
was
friend, and like she's a little bit older, she used to call it an Uber cab. She'd be like, where's the Uber cab? And I was like, it's Uber. But she just called it an Uber cab. I love that.
Right, yeah.
So, what about anything that's really frustrating? Like, where are there points that you're like, gosh, people need to figure this out? Where is the human-centered design? Where's the research team when it comes to this?
Yeah.
As researchers, we're always like frustrated when something doesn't work, and like, where's the research team? So.
Yeah. What were some of the ones that I was thinking about? I thought about Goodreads that you have for Amazon. My biggest annoyance is when I sit down at 9 o'clock and I'm ready to watch my show to relax for the night, and I finished like the show I was fully embedded in like the night before, and now I have nothing to watch.
It's really depressing.
And so now I have to go through say this like it's a chore.
Yeah.
This is a first world problem, but go through the next 45 minutes looking for, okay, what am I going to watch? What is going to be the next show I get hooked on? And so something like Goodreads, but for shows on like Netflix and Hulu and all of those good things.
That is a brilliant idea. That's so
that's where mine's like, somebody go solve this one.
Yeah, so you even like, I can already feel the solution brewing. What's it like working in the vehicle and automotive industry, just in general? I mean,
yeah,
I think we don't get to talk to a lot of people, especially in Minnesota. It's not like we're not in Detroit that get to work. And did you live in Detroit when you worked for those companies?
Yeah, I did. Yep. So I grew up in Ohio and then went to Michigan State. So Michigan State moved me from Ohio to Michigan. And then being Detroit's in Michigan, a lot of those automotive companies provide opportunities for University of Michigan and Michigan State graduates.
Oh, okay.
And so that's how I first entered into automotive, was an internship with Jeep. And then I realized, wow, which surprised myself, I am not like a cars person, but just the idea of like, this is something that everybody uses every day, like in something our society relies on, was really interesting to learn about how a car factored into people's lives on the marketing side, but then also as I started to get into the research side of things. So that's when I learned like this is actually something I really want to be in. And from there, I then got an opportunity at Polaris within power sports, and I grew up an avid snowmobiler. So we're actually from Canada, in southern Ontario, and so a lot more snow. Well, now that we're in Minnesota, fairly equal amount of snow, but not as much as Ohio growing up. And that was just something that my family did with not only our immediate family, but our extended family to spend time together in the winters. And so when I got the opportunity to then come to Polaris, it was like a no-brainer. Like, I get to do research and on something that I'm really passionate about and learn about the people that have the same passion as I do. So that was really exciting. So I think that's where automotive, power sports research, I find this passion in as well. And then power sports specifically, just how, like, you can hear the passion in my voice about snowmobiling and the stories I just told you. Like, I get to hear stories like that all the time that then I can myself relate to, but then also learn new things about how power sports impacts people's lives. So it's really interesting.
I love Polaris tagline, the think outside.
Yeah.
It really does bring people outside.
Yeah, it does.
It's pretty special. What's your favorite kind of offering or vehicle or thing that Polaris has? What's your, because they have boats, they have sleds, I learned, slingshots, UTVs, ATVs.
There is a ton. Now I love all of them because I've realized how they all kind of fit into my lifestyle. But obviously, like the snowmobile, right? That brings. I have two Polaris snowmobiles, and now it's something that me and my fiance go do together to spend time. We're getting outside in the winter. It's like, do I really want to go outside? And then when it's like, you get to snowmobile, you get to smell that two-stroke engine. There's a lot of nostalgia that comes with it. It's kind of like the bowl of Fruit Loops in the morning that I've mentioned before. And so we do that a lot. My fiance actually works on the motorcycle team at Polaris, so we are starting to accumulate motorcycles in our garage, which is new to me, but that's exciting. And then we found kind of a new passion for side-by-sides, going off-roading, lots of trails within Minnesota. And so that's something neither of us grew up doing, but through Polaris have really found a passion for it. And yeah, I get really motivated by, talking to our customers all the time and hearing how fun going camping with their family is with their side-by-side, where I come home with a lot of ideas of we should go do this, it sounds like so much fun.
Yes, that is every project I work on, I become really obsessed with that product. And, one of them was tablecloths. Okay. We never really used tablecloths. I all of a sudden purchased 20 tablecloths. I'm so into tablecloths now.
Yes, I know. I get really into it. Yeah. When I was in the financial services side, I was doing Rocket Loans and Rocket Auto. And so the auto had kind of that merge of finance and automotive, but then the Rocket Loans, I got so into people are buying these types of things, and it's so cool about how just a loan can impact these people's lives. And so it's when you spend so much time learning about something, you start to become really passionate about everything you know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking a lot about design research.
Yeah.
Human-centered design, whatever you call it. We don't know the moniker yet. Do you have a favorite phase in that whole process?
My favorite phase is that upfront, when you get past the say and you've made a connection with somebody, whether it's through the first phase of research or multiple phases, you start to observe really what they do. And when you start to feel that aha moment of what they feel that then connects it to be this is the insight that we needed and has momentum, that feeling is really good. I like that one where it's okay, we found it, and this is a tangible insight, we can do something, we're going to drive action, we really understood this unmet need, this frustration, this feeling that we want other people to feel, whatever it may be. That's definitely my favorite, because you're always referencing back to that insight of as you're going through the entire design phase, remember why we're doing this, and you were a part of the team that ended up kind of discovering that.
And it doesn't sound like a quantitative survey.
No, yeah, more of the qual for sure that brings that out, yeah.
That anecdote that you had one qual class in your market research degree, it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's evolved so much, I bet.
Yes, and I'm definitely quite a few years out of that program. I sit on the advisory board now for that market research program, and it's really interesting because we have so much insight and influence into their curriculum, and so that's definitely some feedback of like that I think they've incorporated, and that they're the #1 market research program in the world, and so being able to incorporate and influence that feedback's awesome. So I think they've definitely built up some different classes.
You're doing like a million things when we were working. Are you the other boards and things that you're at?
No, that one
That's
is
the big one.
That
Okay.
one's the big one.
Okay.
But I do also really enjoy. They have brought me in for one of their consumer insights classes within Michigan State undergrad to talk about product research. As they finish up that chapter, I bring in some real life examples and guest speak, and I really enjoyed that part of it to just kind of help people understand, because these are marketing undergrads. They're deciding kind of what they want to do next. So to bring in hey, this is what consumer insights in the real world really looks like. And I always have students reaching out after, like, this was really interesting. Like, I'm now interested in consumer insights. And I like being a mentor. So it opens up the door for doing some of that stuff.
Well, I'm going to skip to a different question then, is like advice you have for somebody that is a student that wants to get into a role like yours or a role like yours.
I think that if you have the opportunity to take any of those consumer insights classes, but then also if you end up, I tell some of the students, if they've already had maybe a marketing internship lined up, ask to be involved in a consumer insights project so that you can see it from the other side. That's how the light bulb went on for me that I loved consumer insights. Was I was working at Jeep at the time, and we were getting ready to launch the all new Jeep Wrangler that came out of quite a few years ago now. And I was on the marketing team at a focus group, and I was like, wait, I think I want to be on the other side of this project. I think I want to be doing what the researchers are doing. That looks awesome. And I started talking to them. I'm like, so this is literally your job? Like, you get to do this? And they're like, yes. So that was kind of the light bulb for me. So I always recommend trying to get that experience. Seek out internships, shadow, take the classes you can, I learn best by getting the real life experience hands-on. So, and at that, when you're a student, the risk is really low to try all new things. So
yeah, you're totally right. So actually, you do have an interesting question. We talked about this earlier about like the field of market research.
Yeah.
Maybe if we call it market research, that'd be easier to say. Where has it gone and where is it going, would you say?
Yeah,
the evolution of it.
And I think we've kind of hit on this before, is like there's a lot of companies who are very much like the demographics will tell me what I need to know, or the quant survey. And I think I've noticed that just reading articles, keeping up on the industry, we've moved very much from just like, here's the survey, get the answer, to this deeper qualitative of kind of human-centered design research, where we need to go understand like what this unmet need is, what this frustration is, and then how we build a differentiating product from there. And I mean, I think there's a lot of industries that have become kind of a commodity, right? Like if you look at automotive, we are in pickup trucks talking solely about the tailgate in commercials, the flip down tailgate. Did you see that Super Bowl commercial a few years back about the cat?
I think so.
It was all about the cat's interaction with how the tailgate could like,
because it does a different
3 or 4 ways.
Something.
Yeah.
They
Me
were
trying
so
to
proud of
explain
that.
Right. Well, that's the point that they're at in automotive, where they're not going to do something. At least from my knowledge, I've been out of it for a while, but you're to the point you can't do necessarily something totally new and groundbreaking. It's still a car. So they're finding through deep observation that there's a need for the tailgate to operate in multiple different ways, not just up and down like it has in the past, but that doesn't come through in survey data. And so I think seeing, and maybe it's more so now that I'm in the field, I watch those commercials, I'm like, no way you did that through a survey. You talked to people. But I think I'm starting to see companies come up with those sort of ideas that you can just feel that they're backed by an unmet need or a frustration that came through observation and using the customer at the center of the design.
Yeah, great answer. Your journey, we'll talk a little bit more about, like, so you got a degree in market research. Will you say more about like how you ended up as a manager of insights in UTV?
Yeah. So I kind of touched on a little bit of how I got into the field of market research. So it was at that marketing internship with Jeep. And I also, like, at that point when I was working on Jeep, loved the lifestyle that Jeep was kind of all about, that brand. And so I think that aligns very much with power sports as well, and Polaris. So as I went through the program, lots of opportunities for graduate internships. And so then that's how I ended up at General Motors. That was an awesome experience. Got a lot of really real world product development research, so being in clinic research, and
being
then
in clinic.
So like this
do they call it?
Yeah, they just. Clinic? I guess it's more so another term for product development.
Oh, interesting!
Research.
It must be in the auto industry.
Yeah, maybe. And then so from there, like I said, the opportunity at Polaris arose, and I was really passionate about the industry. So made the move from Detroit to Minneapolis in order to pursue a career at Polaris, and it's worked out really nicely. So I'm really excited, and I still love it a lot.
Yeah, your passion shows. What percent of the work you do is like qualitative versus quantitative now?
It kind of depends on the year, the project, what the priorities are. So I'd say how I prefer it to be is probably like 80-20, 80% qualitative, 20% quant, but it really depends on what's happening, what the priorities are.
You can still throw down a max diff pretty well.
Yes.
Okay.
Me and my max dips, we do still spend a lot of time together.
It is a unicorn, I have to tell you, Megan, to find someone that is as knowledgeable as you are about quantitative and qualitative. Usually those like areas feel very separate and people don't get along as well. Yeah. So it's really cool to see that you're able to bring those together and see the value in both.
That's kind of one of the reasons that I feel like I've spent so much of my career on the client side as well is I do really, like, especially at my time at GM where I was seeing these two methodologies merge to really tell us more than either of them could individually. I didn't necessarily want to become an expert in either. I wanted to be somebody who could use both of these things to solve problems within the organization.
Our jobs are kind of hard to describe, I think.
Yeah.
So how do you answer the question, hey, Megan? And there's different layers. There's like your neighbor, there's your grandma, there's like somebody that works at Polaris. How do you answer the question of what do you do?
Oh, man. I normally say, those surveys that get sent into your inbox? Yeah, I do that.
Oh, that's...
Because or I'm like, the focus groups that you see on TV and there's the two-way mirror. Yeah, that's what I do. And because it's hard. If you're not in the field or even like on a product or marketing team, a lot of my family's in the healthcare field. Yeah. And so being like, okay, this is what I do, is funny. My fiance's mom actually just she signed up for a research study for like dog toys. Yeah. And they sent her this box and it was all these, or maybe it was dog foods or something, treats or something, all these different things she was going to try. And it came with a list of instructions. And then they're like, when we come into your home in like 2 weeks from now, we'll be there for 2 hours and whatever. And I was like, that's what I do. That's what I do.
You finally got a way to show her.
So I was able to show her. And she's like, you will go into people's homes sometimes? And I'm like, yeah sometimes.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, that's a good answer. I still fumble when people ask me what I do.
Yeah, I try to find something that maybe they've seen before or had experience with, but it is sometimes hard to communicate.
We didn't talk, and maybe you don't have an answer about like a person, a book, a subject in school, a hero that you look to in the space.
Yeah.
Or even just something that like made you think differently about this type of work.
I think there are so many intelligent people that I work with at Polaris, like my stakeholders on the product team, the marketing team, I'm very lucky that they're very well versed in kind of what consumer insights is and the right way to identify opportunities. And so I've learned a lot from my own stakeholders, just interacting with them, and then peers in the space, right? So I have a few mentors that I'm constantly getting lunch with or getting breakfast with, catching up on what are some of the different things that they're trying, kind of taking problems or challenges I'm having and saying, hey, can you help me figure this one out? I'm stuck. And having those types of people just in my circle have made all of the difference in my career as well. So I'm really lucky to have the network I do.
Awesome. Well, it's been awesome to talk to you and hear about power sports and vehicles. I think 5-10 years ago, I wouldn't have known that this was related and that you could do insights and innovation work with this topic. And now it's just incredible to see all of this happening and how innovative Polaris is getting with their products and their marketing. Well, thank you so much, Meagan. You were amazing.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yes, we loved having you. Have the best day, everyone.